Who are my three favorite artists? Well, I'll tell you. There are four of them. Now, what does that mean? One's a paradox. The rest are subjective. I love Van Gogh. My first favorite painting was Starry Night. I still remember seeing it in a thrift store in fucking Omaha, Nebraska. A Salvation Army, Starry Night. I go to my mother with it. I ask her, what is this? I love this. This is amazing. Still my favorite painting. I wanted to take a trip to New York just to see Starry Night. No. Who is my second? Monet. None of them have real numbers. It's not numbers. It's more of a progression throughout life. Monet, Picasso, and then Chuck Close. So what does all this mean to somebody like me? To me, they all express things in unique ways. They create these variables in my brain that I try to latch onto. It's no different with the music. When you're teaching yourself an instrument, you have many inspirations, obviously. I mean, there's nothing to draw you to a guitar. They're horrible, ugly things. You look at them on a wall, they look disgusting. They're not particularly beautiful. They really aren't. Violins are. Violins are beautiful. They are beautiful and they are weird sounding. Yet, they draw out the most depth of emotion. It's that Van Gogh, I've always called him Van Gogh because I was an uneducated swine, right? We're just rural people, liked art. So, what is he? He is true. He is true. He's passion. He's innocence without what he went through, right? In and out of hospital. He, in a time when people were not self-aware, practically just the most unself-aware people you could ever imagine, but potentially. Of course, this is after the golden ages of various developments through the mind, so why wouldn't we be self-indulged when we encounter the golden age of art? I don't know, Monet is very uplifting. He is so uplifting. Just this beautiful rose. He's just like, or a daisy. You see a certain period and he is uplifting. Very uplifting. I got to study him. And I did so diligently when I got to see his original works. And that was the best art exhibit I've ever seen in my entire life. Van Gogh gives you a reason to travel. That's one oddity too. When you have that berry fruit sort of nature, it's Picasso then is they create a triangle. Picasso's this raw passion too. It's very linear. It's odd. He made things until he died. Just as any artist, nothing's ever always perfect. He can always step on a pebble. How do you make that positive? I don't know. All the time. I mean, pain. I gotta just express my pain. art doesn't always have to be depressing and macabre. You don't have to be macabre. Okay? It's always about just enjoyment, happiness, or obviously expression, truth, all these things that make us individuals, because that's what sets us apart. All the artists throughout history are always set apart by their individuality. So Van Gogh, he and Monet, to me, are parallel opposites of emotion. So they always have three perspectives. Now my fourth is Chuck Close, because he is a madness with the eyes, a sort of man who has been stuck in a body of tragedy, but raw talent, and something that I love the first time I saw it too. First time I ever saw Chuck Close was this particular set, one particular painting of a set that he did of one of his studies of this guy, and that's who I modeled that style off of. Now you get into the future of it all, and what am I really doing? Well, you get it becomes not so fun anymore. I can still smell the Joslin Art Museum, and I didn't go to it when I was back in Nebraska, and I knew not to. I couldn't afford it. I didn't want to leave all of my things, because I had very important things that I left with, and it's just art to me, when you're progressing and changing, I don't want to just be depressing. And you can be angry and aggressive and emotional. You can draw something, stabbing something, or destruction. It's very easy to convey all that, but it's hard to conceptualize something other than singular emotions, other than this weakness to express as such, that you have self-awareness. You are so frustrated with reality that you need this beautiful thing such as art. And that's one reason why I love Van Gogh so much, is because I knew the struggles he went through. But does that mean we need to torture people so that they can produce and replicate? No. That's why I love Monet. They're polar opposites. You have the kid who just, he's in art class. He's never going to sell a painting, but at least he likes coloring, or he likes painting, or doesn't mean he likes thinking. And then you have the medial ground. You have the person who thinks art is so lovely by imagination. I wish I could be loved as much as an artist. But they don't put in effort either. They might love technique. There's always that technique too, right? Van Gogh, you can tell he had no room to care about technique over his own, just go for it mentality. That's some of my paintings that I love have been that way. And some have been work on it until it gets to where it needs to be, because I don't want to waste the paint. Like my sunflowers, right? Not perfect, not raw. However, they create depth, and it's about that. It's just as much about what it means to be a Monet as it means to be a Van Gogh. Now Picasso, he's just a wild card. That guy's a fucking weirdo. I mean, some of his stuff I look at like, what the fuck was he thinking? It doesn't give my eyes any pleasure. It doesn't give my mind any pleasure. It's just me trying to interpret whatever that is, and I can't relate to it. And that's the struggle, right? However, so many of Picasso's works are just awesome. Like, the guy playing the guitar, or I think it's called Sad Man playing guitar. I don't know. I can see the image in my eyes. I have a long neck. I have often honestly played the guitar very similar to that. I wrote, or I composed a piece of music in high school around Picasso. They wanted us to take a picture and interpret it and compose music. I made a series of pictures and I composed a symphony that was condensed very shortly. Could not finish it. It arrived and delved into madness and decayed, just as Picasso would in my visage of him. How could you ever create cubism? Anyway. Yeah, he's just a wild card, like the sneezing photo. I don't know the name of it. I don't care about names and labels, but it's this beautiful fringes, yellow, green, turquoise, and like blues and stuff. It's cubist of two moments of sickness and health and confusion and despair. And it's odd because that still made sense at the time. You weren't trying to be transparent. You still have interpretation. Everybody still see it as their own. Right? You're gonna see it as your own. I tell you, I gotta go to the Denver Monet exhibit twice. I felt so lucky. I spent 15 hours total in there. And studying 125 pictures, I think is what it was, around there. It's a lot. Every single one in 3 perspectives. And of course, I prioritized because they had an entirely separate room for the lilies. They didn't have not my favorite. It's one of my favorites. Is the lady with parasol, but they had a lot of other ones I've seen. Unbelievable. Awesome. Oh my God. I'm never gonna forget. I still remember that. My phone is in a toolbox that when I had to move has been lost, and that phone has all of my photos from that exhibit. And that phone I accidentally dropped on the floor and had to get a new phone, and that phone could still be repaired. Just what does it really mean? What's the point? Look at this. I just cut right here, right? Isn't healed. Plucked out my mustache. Came in symmetrically. I think these have weakened my immune system over time. What do you do? I don't know. There's so much I think about. I think about way too much, but it's just how I am. So, the whole point of this video, there is somebody I've been wanting to paint for a very long time now. I saw him in a video studying the documentary about schizophrenia. Whether or not I have it or other people have it, it does run in my family, sadly. Maybe I am truly as intelligent, or I'm just a fucking fool in a psychosis. I really don't care. You know, I believe philosophically the act is what we define as a problem. Your mind can wonder about whatever the fuck it wants. And we are too primitive to expand the Constitution properly because there are no philosophers but me. Well, that's entirely true, right? There's a lot of great thinkers. And many are not guided or misled or controlled or content. Corrupted, there's the word. And even if you are, maybe that's a pure test. What was he talking? What was he saying? Oh, why I made this video. So this guy, I want to paint him, but I don't know how to do it. I am stuck in between this ripping of my two studies. Stuck in between this, like, I want to take that, but it's ripping it apart. That's how I feel the picture anyway. That's when I painted that, you feel it. When you're painting so many squares, through portions, I went at it with a very structural philosophy. I'm gonna follow the same patterns, and then eventually I got bored of that. Like, what is this fucking lame? Let's try not thinking about it and just painting squares, and it gives you this opportunity to just paint a bunch of squares. Eventually, every one was its own little painting. And that deconstructed, and then everything is just, you fall into this, what is the greater thing? That's why I considered that a masterpiece. Because I know what I went through. I know it made that up. But this painting, tearing you apart intellectually, emotionally, of your two styles, or your three, or any style that you've studied, all the techniques basically, right? How do you express properly without being somebody just simply stabbing you in the face with emotion? So I have an issue where I go through seasonal emotional changes, and people around me have been trying to constrict those. They're trying to train me like a Pavlov's dog. Sorry, it's funny to even consider that, but the consistencies and variables are really quite pathetic and too consistent. Anyway, I have more to say about that, but it's not worthy. This picture, to care about a painting, care about every brush stroke, and I care about every brush stroke. I care about how See, when I got into oil painting, I would paint a picture over and over again, basically. Layer, layer, layer. Except I would paint each layer to how I loved it. And it wears on you mentally just like time does. It drains you. It's like it's eating away at your life just as much as time is too. And I wanted to... There's so much in my brain. Like in my watches, but making those layers, eventually you start to see the brushstrokes everywhere you go. You will literally see them. Everything turns into that painting. That is reality. You have formally switched places. So it has to have a bit of passion. This nature, you can't milk truth. Fucking milk truth. How do you milk love? Mm. 13 minutes, I guess that's enough.